In this video, we're going to take a quick look at the Pythagorean theorem and then how you can use it to determine whether a triangle is obtuse, acute, or right just from knowing its side lengths. Let's go. First, let's take a minute just for some definitions. A right triangle is a triangle that contains a right angle. An acute triangle is a triangle where all angles are less than 90 degrees, and an obtuse triangle is a triangle where one angle is greater than 90 degrees. Now, let's take a look at the Pythagorean theorem, which says that when you have a right triangle, so that is a triangle with a 90-degree angle, then if your legs are A and B, and your hypotenuse, which is defined as the side opposite the 90-degree angle, is C, then the following relationship is always true. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So that right there tells you how to identify if a triangle is a right triangle. So if we look back at the numbers we had at the beginning of the page, let's take a look specifically at 7, 24, 25. Well, if we assign these to the triangle, first thing to know is the longest side in the triangle is opposite the 90-degree angle. So that's our 25. And then if we randomly assign the other two sides, and then we check out our math, then we find out that 7 squared is 49, 24 squared is 576. And when we sum those, we get 625. And 25 squared is, so those two are equal, and therefore 7, 24, 25 is a right triangle. Now, let's take a look at some other possibilities. So one of our other options on that front page was 4, 6, 7. So let's assign those and let's check out the math. All right, so let's do that math. So 16 plus 36 on one side, 49 on the other side. And when we do that math, we get 52 versus 49. So in this case, the sum of the squares of our legs are larger. And when that's the case, we have an acute triangle, which means our picture would look more like this. And none of these angles would be larger than 90 degrees. So this is an extreme example, but just to show you the idea. If these are the two legs of our triangle, and the sum of the squares of our two legs are larger than the square of our hypotenuse, then you can see visually, if we set this up as a right triangle, we can't connect. In order to connect, we've got to change our angles here so that we're creating an acute triangle. Now, let's check out our last set of numbers. So this time our numbers were 2, 3, and 4. So let's try out the math. So 2 squared plus 3 squared and 4 squared. Let's put in the numbers. 4 plus 9 versus 16, 13 versus 16. And so when that's the case, now our angle has to grow to be larger than 90 degrees. And so that's the definition of an obtuse triangle. And so you can see here, same thing, if we've got an example where the sum of the squares of our legs is smaller than the square of our hypotenuse, that when we set this up as a right triangle and we go to try and make the connection, we've kind of way overshot the mark. And in order to make these connect, this has to rotate out to become an obtuse triangle. So let's summarize. When a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we have a right triangle. That means a triangle that contains a right angle. When a squared plus b squared is greater than c squared, we have an acute triangle where all three angles are less than 90. And when a squared plus b squared is less than c squared, we have an obtuse triangle, a triangle where one of those angles is greater than 90 degrees. So Now you understand how to apply the Pythagorean theorem to determine what kind of triangle you have. Check out some of these other great geometry videos. Feel free in the comments to leave any topics you'd like me to make videos on. And as always, keep on mathing.